Hello everyone, this is Jeffrey Morgan, the Executive Director of Ocean Protection Advocacy Kids. I'm really excited to be here with you today. This is part one of our outdoor series for our webinars. We're going to be talking about water quality today. I am at our headquarters, the Center Hill Preserve in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Behind me is Cape Cod Bay on this beautiful day. I am practicing my good social distancing measures. I am here by myself. There is nobody here. So we're going to look at the water quality of Cape Cod Bay today. So we're going to look at temperature, salinity, dissolved oxygen. We're going to take a peek at turbidity. I'm really excited and hope you enjoy this. Alright, so step one for water quality is assembling our gear. Today we are going to be using our Earth Echo International water quality kits. You can actually get your own on their website. I will link that below. It's a wonderful way to do citizen science in your own backyard. It can be ocean water, fresh water, river water, wherever you are. You can study the water quality and compare it to global results. You can track your own results over time. You can have a challenge with your friends. So we're going to be using that kit. I also have a hydrometer to measure the salinity of Cape Cod Bay, and we have a turbidity tube to look at the turbidity. Alright, so the first of our experiments is going to be temperature. Water temperature is very important for all the species that live in the ocean and for us that like to enjoy the ocean. We all like to have the right temperature water for our enjoyment, but so do the fish and the whales. A lot of them have adaptations to be able to survive in colder waters, whether it's seasonally in New England here or if they live in our polar regions. But on the opposite end, we have creatures that have adapted to warmer waters in our tropical zones of our planet. So yeah, we're going to take a look at temperature. So we have our Earth Echo kit here, and to look at temperature, we have these wonderful thermometers that are right on the side of our water collection jar. So I'm going to put that into our water sample for about 30 seconds. I'm going to submerge it in that water, and that will give us our reading. Alright, so I'm just submersing our jar here in our water sample. I'm going to do this for about 30 seconds, and that will give us our reading. Alright, the jar's been in here for about 30 seconds. We're going to pull this out. We're going to look at our thermometer here. It's a little tough to see with the camera, but it's about 10 to 12 degrees Celsius. Alright, so yeah, our water is about 10 or 12 degrees Celsius, which is about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Still a little cold for my liking, but our right whales in Cape Cod Bay are back, and they love that cold water because cold water is very nutrient rich, and when we have a lot of nutrients and our water is starting to warm now that it's springtime, that creates a lot of plankton, and plankton are our primary producers. I will put a link to our plankton webinar that we did a few weeks ago if you want to learn a little bit more about plankton. Next up is going to be salinity. We are going to use our instant ocean hydrometer for this test. Salinity is going to be measured in parts per thousand. The first thing I'm going to do with my hydrometer before I do my test is I'm going to rinse it to make sure that any residual salt from the last time I did water quality testing is not on the hydrometer. I don't want to mess up our sample. I'm going to do that about 3 times, and then I will take our test. Alright everyone, here are our results for our salinity. It looks like we have about 30 parts per thousand. That's awesome. When you are measuring with your hydrometer, you want to try and make sure that that is as flat as possible. So next up, we're going to be looking at turbidity. I'm going to be using my turbidity tube here. Alright, so I have my turbidity tube here. Like with our hydrometer, the first thing I'm going to do is rinse it out. Basically what we're doing when we're measuring turbidity is looking at how much stuff is in the water. Having a lot of turbidity or a high turbidity count, that doesn't mean that the water is dirty. It just means that there's a lot of stuff in it. Like I mentioned, we have a lot of plankton in the water right now. That's a good thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to look down the barrel of our turbidity tube, and what is down there is called a Secchi disc. Alright, now that I've rinsed out my turbidity tube, we've seen what the Secchi disc looks like. I'm going to fill this tube up until I can no longer see the Secchi disc at the bottom, and then I'm going to slowly let out water until I can see it again. There is a ruler on my turbidity tube. We can then see how far down in the water column we'd be able to see. so now you can see down our turbidity tube here, you can see that I can no longer see the Secchi disc. So I'm going to slowly let out water until I can see our Secchi disc again. So I could start to see the Secchi disc again at about 51.5 centimeters there. Alright, so my camera is unfortunately dying, but I do have enough water that I can bring our sample back up to our classroom where I can do our readings for pH and dissolved oxygen. So we'll do that upstairs. Alright, my battery's charged and we're up at our classroom now out on the deck. We have 2 more measurements to do for our water quality today. We're going to be looking at the pH of the water and our dissolved oxygen of the water. I have 2 test tubes to do these experiments, and just like our past instruments, I have rinsed these, and the first one we're going to do is pH. So the Earth Echo kits are awesome because they supply you everything that you need to do your water quality testing. This is the test tube that we're going to be using for our pH. We're going to need 10 milliliters of water, and the way I'm going to know that is that there is a reading right there on the test tube, and we have these wonderful pH tablets. So I'm going to measure my 10 milliliters of water. I'm going to put 1 tablet into our test tube, and I'm going to shake until it's fully dissolved. And once it is fully dissolved, we are going to use our scale to see what our pH is. So I've got my 10 milliliters of water. I'm going to put the tablet in.
Stick the tablet in, put our cap back on our test tube, we're going to shake it until it's fully dissolved.
Alright, so we are fully dissolved now, so we can take out our scale, and we're going to compare the color of our test tube to the pH scale here, the different colors, and it looks like we're at about 8, which is perfect. So next up will be dissolved oxygen. This is going to be the last test that we do today. We have a much smaller vial for the dissolved oxygen. We are going to fill this one all the way to the brim. We do not want any air in this vial because that will definitely disturb the test. We are looking for just the oxygen in the water. For this test, we also have wonderful tablets from the Earth Echo kit. We're going to use 2 of our tablets in this test. Alright, so now that my vial is completely full and there are no air bubbles in it, I'm going to put our tablets in there, and we're going to shake that for 5 minutes. Alright, it's been 5 minutes. My tablets are fully dissolved. We're going to take our scale back out. This time we're going to be using the dissolved oxygen scale. We're going to put our vial up next to that and determine what color we have. I think we're right around 4 parts per million. Now that we have all of our data, we can take our data sheet that we've been recording our information on, and we can use that to upload our data onto Earth Echo's International Water Quality Challenge, and we can compare our results to other results that we've gotten at OPAC, and we can compare our results to what other people are doing around the world. All in all, we'll be able to have a better sense of the water quality parameters that we measured today. Thank you so much for doing this with us. I would highly encourage you to get your own kit or another kit and just start your own baseline data so that you can monitor trends in your water quality in your neck of the woods.